For the monsters of the deck, we run one Raviel Shimmering Scraper for its first and second effect. That being, you can discard it, and the Raviel Lord of Phantasms you control. For the rest of the turn, its attack is doubled, and it can attack all monsters your opponent controls. And its second effect, if this card is in your grave, you contribute one monster to add this card from your grave back to your hand. Speaking of Raviel, you'd run two of them. You could run three, but two is just an easier and less cloggy ratio. Cannot be normal summoned or set, like all Sacred Beast. Must only be special summoned from the hand by attributing 3 fiends you control. And each time your opponent normal summons special summons a monster, you are required to special summon one Phantom token, Fiend Dark level 1, 1000 attack and defense to your side of the field, but it cannot declare an attack. And once returned, you contribute one monster, and this card gains attack equal to the attributed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. Next up, 2 Haman. Similar to Raviel, except this time you have to attribute 3 face-up continuous spells to special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field. And if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the grave, you can inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. And while this card is in face-up defense position, monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters for attacks except Haman. And 1 Raviel, basically because we don't run a lot of continuous traps, plus it's the least useful. If you want to change the ratios, by all means, go for it. But must be special summoned from the hand by sending 3 face-up traps you control to the grave. Already a little bit slow there, but this card gains 1000 attack for each continuous trap in your grave, and once per turn you can target one set spell trap your opponent controls. Destroy that target. Neither player can activate spell or traps in response to this card's activation. Now for the newer support. 3 Dark Beckoning Beast. Come on, get there. There we go. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 Uriah, Haman, or Raviel, or 1 card that specifically lists any of these cards in its text from your deck to your hand, except itself. And you're going to use this effect of Beckoning Beast once per turn, and during the main phase you can normal summon 1 Fiend with 0 attack / defense in addition to your normal summon or set of this card. You can only gain this effect once per turn. And one of the targets being Chaos Summoning Beast. You contribute this card, special summon a Uriah, Haman, or Raviel from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can banish this card from your grave to add a Fallen Paradise from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Chaos Summoning Beast once per turn. You could also get this card out with 1-for-1, which we do run in the deck. And next up, Dark Summoning Beast. You contribute this card, special summon Uriah, Haman, or Raviel from your hand or deck, ignoring their summoning conditions. Also, monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Dark Summoning Beast once per turn. You can banish this card from your grave to add a Uriah, Haman, or Raviel from your deck to your hand, just to thin out your deck a lot easier. And since the structure deck came with it, I figured why not for the additional draws, even though we do run Fallen Paradise. 3 Chupacabra. You can review this card from your hand. You can review this card in your hand, Your opponent randomly chooses 1 card from your entire hand, then discard the chosen card. Then if it wasn't Chupacabra, special summon Chupacabra, and if you do, draw a card. But if this card is discarded, you can target 1 danger in your grave, except itself, and special summon it. So in a sense, hope your opponent doesn't target Chupacabra basically, but that'll do it for the monsters. For the spells of the deck, we run 2 Fallen Paradise. Your opponent cannot target Uriah, Haman, Raviel, or Armatal with card effects while they're in the monster zones, and they can also not be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while you control them. And if you control Uriah, Haman, or Raviel, or even armor tile for this sake. In the monster zone, you can draw 2 cards. You can only use each effect of Fallen Paradise once per turn. 1 mana the Mod Creator, just for that level 10 protection in case you can't get to Fallen Paradise fast enough. Or, worst comes to worst, drop a set rotation on your opponent just to block them from using the other field zone. Terraforming, since it was in the structure deck, figured why not utilize it to the best you can. 1 for 1 to get out the level 1s. Opening of the Spirit Gates. When this card is activated, you can add Uriah, Hamon, or Raviel, or 1 monster that specifically lists any of those cards in its text from your deck to your hand. And once returned, you can discard 1 card to special summon 1 fiend with 0 attack and defense from your grave. And once per turn, if you control a level 10 monster, you can add 1 continuous spell from your grave to your hand. You can only use you can only activate 1 opening of the Spirit Gates per turn. And 1 continuous spell to obviously recycle back to your hand is Cerulean Skyfire. To special summon Hamon using its own summoning requirements. You can also send face down spells you control once per turn while you control an attack position Hamon. You can negate any spell trap effects activated by your opponent, then change Hamon to defense position. Change 1 Hamon you control to defense position. And if it fits of Uriah, Hamon, or Raviel you control leaves the field, you take no damage this turn. And finishing off the spells of the deck, 3 of the fusions that was given to us in the structure deck, that being Dimension Fusion Destruction. Banish from your hand, field, and or grave fusion materials that are listed on a Phantasm Fusion monster. Then special summon that fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You take no battle damage from attacks involving that special summon monster by this effect. And bonus, if you control Uriah, Hamon, or Raviel, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. So, in some sense, it's a free polymerization that can't be negated in some sense. But yeah, like I said, change the ratios if you want, but that's it for the spells. For the traps of the deck, we run 3 Awakening of the Sacred Beast. This card gains the effects based on the number of Uriah, Hamon, and or Raviel with different names that you control. Each time your opponent number 7 special summons a monster, gain life points equal to their attacks. 2+, negate the activated effects of monsters your opponent controls, or 3, any monsters sent to your opponent's grave in general is banished. Once returned, if you control a level 10 monster, you can add a continuous trap from your grave to your hand. And what better trap to recycle than Hyper Blaze, which to special summon a Uriah using its own procedure, you can also use face down traps you control. Once per battle, when an attack is declared involving Uriah, you can send a trap from your hand or deck to the grave, and its attack and defense becomes the number of face-up traps on the field and in the grave times 1,000 for the rest of the turn. And once per turn, you can discard 1 card and add from your hand. So either add from your hand or special summon a Uriah, Hamon, or Raviel from your grave, ignoring its summoning conditions. So yeah, basically why you want to run 3, it's because it is an easier way to get the Sacred Beast out on your side of the field. And finishing up the traps, escape from the Dark Dimension. Target 1 of your banished dark monsters, special summon that target, and when this card leaves the field, destroy the target. And if you do, banish it. When that target is destroyed, destroy this card. So basically, if I can grab these cards here, the only targets you really should be going for in terms of returning them to your side of the field are Dark Beckoning Beast, Chaos Summoning Beast, or even Dark Summoning Beast, because when they banish themselves to activate their effects, you can just easily return them and go from there. But that'll settle the traps. The extra deck's relatively simple. 2 Armor Tile and 2 Trial Jig. Armor Tile just for that OTK, and Trial Jig for the burn, assuming you revive a monster from your grave to your side of the field. Trial Jig's effect will activate, target a monster your opponent controls, inflict damage equal to half their original attack. But that'll do it for the extra deck, since these are the only 2 that came in the structure deck.